I'm Scott Johnson, technical agronomist for Southeast Iowa.
And George Cattermas, technical agronomist for Southeast Iowa.
It's the first week in May, and we thought it'd be good to do a short update as far as what we're seeing here as far as growing conditions and crop conditions here in Southeast Iowa. George as a whole, I think planting-wise, percent in the ground for Southeast Iowa, somewhere between over 50%, between 50 and 70.
No, I don't think it's quite that much. I don't think with my area, I don't think we'd be half yet.
Okay, so somewhere around 50%, give or take a little bit. What do we see as far as crop staging, George?
Well, I guess the thing that I've noticed is it's just been a little too cool for the corn to really be doing a whole lot. You've got to have 50-degree temperatures overnight for continuous growth by the corn plant, and we're dropping down below 50. So this corn isn't going to be coming up in 7 to 10 days. It's probably going to take a little while longer.
And I think that's kind of the key call out, right? Is don't get too excited just yet. We need some heat. What we've dug so far looks good, healthy and viable. Once we start getting some heat, we should start to be in pretty good shape.
We're not noticing anything as far as any seedling diseases on there yet. It still looks nice and clean. The longer it takes to come up, the more likely we are to see problems. You have the coleoptile that protects that leaf is going to be it's going to protect the leaf from leafing out underground for about 3 weeks. Anytime we get over 17 days, we start seeing some of those might start breaking underground, but we're not seeing any of that yet.
There's a lot of anxiety right now. A year ago here in Southeast Iowa, we were pretty much done planting corn by the 1st of May. This year we might be a little bit longer, but as far as yield potential with that crop, really you don't start to see yield drop as far as planting date here for a few weeks yet, a couple weeks here yet.
Yeah, normally they talk around the 10th of May, but we actually might not see much for quite a while after that. It all depends on the growing season.
Probably the key call out is don't lose that yield potential by putting corn in the ground in less than ideal conditions. Mudding it in isn't an answer right now.
Yeah, and the other thing is don't be too quick to jump to earlier maturities too, because normally that's going to mean you're going to have a lower yield as well, and that corn plant will adjust. If it's planted a little bit later, it knows it needs to shorten up its season for black layer and mid pollination. So I'd stick with the maturity range you've got planned for at least 2 or 3 more weeks.
Yeah, we've got some time there yet. Here before the last rain, when the rain started here, we had some really cold conditions, or we were anticipating in that. We were sent out alert, talking about the chance of imbibitional chilling, chances of losing stand. We didn't get as cold as we thought, so we're not anticipating seeing a lot of that. We'll know more in another week, 10 days, what that might be like.
Mm-hmm.
And even that, again, if we're not anticipating a lot of stand loss, if we do see some, we're anticipating it to be pretty minimal. As far as ponding and standing water, depending where you're at in Southeast Iowa, we are seeing some of that. River bottoms, we've seen some ponding.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts there, George, as far as evaluating those stands?
Well, it's going to be more critical to take a look at any areas that have remained ponded for a few days.
Yeah.
That's definitely an area that you want to look more closely at. What do you think is going to happen as far as nitrogen?
So yeah, and I mean, standing water is never good for nitrogen. That'd probably be something we'll want to evaluate here as we get closer to side dress season and see where we're at. I would anticipate we may have lost some, but as cool as the conditions were, I got to think whatever nitrogen loss we had would be pretty minimal at this point.
I think some of the bigger thing to watch as the season goes on is some of the guys that switch forms of nitrogen. That the way the spring was, there was some urea that went on instead of anhydrous.
Yeah.
Some of those fields we might want to keep a closer eye on.
Yeah, I would agree. Till the next time, have a safe spring, and we'll see you on the Indros.